Welcome to Mama Drama Trauma Academy. I'm Tammy Taylor, your manifestation muse and host through the signs and symbols of the goddess in the Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle Deck. Hello and welcome to Mama Drama Trauma Academy. I'm Tammy Taylor, your manifestation muse and host through the Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle Deck. So thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel. I want to talk about how you do your goddess, the latest podcast, and whatever time that you're watching this, you can always click the links to Mama Drama Trauma Academy, where all of the sessions and lessons that we'll be discussing here are about, as well as reading the deck and working with the cards as we've seen already here with some of the sample card readings. I want to get more into that this year, but right now, I want to, in the notes section of the podcast, give you an insertion. This video will also be inserted there, but the purpose of it is to elaborate on the points that were presented in that topic about how you do your goddess. As you can see, there are 6 reasons it's important for empaths with the mother wound to goddess. Of course, here at Mama Drama Trauma Academy, we're focused on empaths, people who accurately feel the feelings of others who have the mother wound. The 6 reasons Great Mother says it's important for empaths with the mother wound to go goddess. Number 1, it is good for everyone to self-regulate, but for empaths, energy management requires self-awareness of the energy releasing to compensate for their intense need to feel safe and secure, even to the extent of energetic care and protection of others who are perceived as threats. This is all about that co-regulation, where we want to make sure others are taken care of so that we feel safe. And she goes on to say, in the first reason, individuals with MDT must be decisive and dedicated to maintaining mental and emotional balance to avoid the trap of vulnerabilities this default behavior creates. So when we're talking about default behavior, we're always talking about that Saturn moon, that MDT behavior, that quick trigger behavior as a result of a lack of the maternal protection, provision of care, and presence that we desire. That's the default behavior. And if we don't co-regulate, we isolate. So a lot of times we're just too tired, and we know that if we go out or we're amongst people, that's what we got to do. That's the role that we have to play in order for us to feel at ease. We can't be around people who are not at a certain vibrational level, and so we will expend and spend, as she says, our energy in order to make that possible, or again, we'll self-regulate. So this compensation for these intense feelings that we feel is the number one reason that she's saying it's important for us to go goddess, to go into our divinity identity, to take up that journey so that we can begin to protect ourselves, so that we can begin to be present for ourselves, so that we can begin to provide for ourselves. Because all of the reasons and why it's important for us to augment the notes with this video have to do with our job and our responsibility, primarily as an empath with the mother wound who's healing. And this is just a stop along our path. Mama Drama Trauma Academy's purpose is to get us on board and ego soul alignment so that we can move on and do the healing work we are here to do with others. So in order to do that, our work right now and here is to consciously and conscientiously distinguish between the karma of care that we have, this karma that we come in here with to care for others. That's why we feel it so heavily. But we're dysregulated because we are misspending and mismanaging this energy. We're wanting to give it in order to receive something in return. That's not how it works. We are overextending ourselves in order for there to be some reward or some sense of maternal presence, protection. We don't need to do that when we go goddess. We already know that the angels, guides, and ancestors, Great Mother Spirit team is with us. We don't need to do none of that. Our job is to be conscious of that and to be conscientious of how we are moving in the world with that awareness so that we feel good. That's our birthright, to be happy, healthy, and whole. So this augmented session through video, the purpose is to zero in on the central point of going goddess, which is the conscious and conscientious practice of our divinity identity. Together, I am a dearly loved divine child of the great Mother, Father, God, who is never judged, condemned, or left alone. How do we live that? The Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle Deck is a tool designed specifically for that mantra to do that. But there are many. There are many ways to ego soul align. Whatever method works for you, the daily practice is to be responsible for living in that awareness, to be lovingly detached from the shame, blame, and guilt. That's the first reason that we need to go goddess, is so that that awareness of our energy releasing default tendency is corrected. That's the first reason. The second reason she gives is that getting out of toxic entanglements is important for everyone. All of these reasons say that these things are important for everyone. Getting out of toxic entanglements is important for everyone, but for empaths with the mother wound, the goal is not only to overcome, but to live beyond them, to support other highly sensitive people, HSPs, release this self-created turmoil. With the power to create is the power to dismantle detrimental mental and emotional states, but everyone needs help to do so, even old souls. So we need to go goddess, because goddesses don't work in singular fashion. They have a lot of support, whether it's from the angels, guides, and ancestors, the fairies, or actual people who are servants, or whomever is an ally. Goddesses have allies in the work that we do. And so the second reason is that these toxic entanglements are of our creation, going back to that conscious and conscientious awareness of, yes, we do have a karma to care for others, but not to the point that it is draining us of life, which is what toxicity does. It takes life away instead of health and wellness, bringing and generating life. And there are cycles of life, which is why the lunar phases in the Oracle deck speak to those phases. And when we receive messages, we can see where we are in relationship to what our inquiry is, what phase in that cycle that we're in that arc of living in loving detachment, whatever we're asking. So the second reason is to be conscious of the fact that whatever toxic entanglements that we create, we can also dismantle by living and being our goddess in everyday life. And our goddess is that reclamation of our divinity identity. Third reason it's important, Great Mother says, is that everyone has some negative feelings about unmet maternal needs, or some grievance of how it feeds into blaming or feelings of unworthiness. But empaths with the mother wound experience self-afflicting grief, guilt, and doubts around this hypothesis. Unlike non-empaths, their strong intuition affords access to experience data from many empowering lifetimes, denying them the refuge of self-pity. We don't get to feel sorry for ourselves because within us, it just doesn't resonate. We want it to because we have the veil of this lifetime that keeps us from really accessing the other lifetimes when we're not hip to our divinity. But that's why we want to do our goddess, is because that keeps us in that divinity, that transcendent perspective that also grounds our feet in this earth, realizing this is a lifetime of heavy karma, and I am working through this karma consciously with these grievances that I've carried with me. into this lifetime. When you have a grievance about something, you got to do something about it, or it will kill you. It will eat you up. Whether it's a lawsuit, or whether it's a loud neighbor, or whether it's a child that just can't, do what they need to do in order to be responsible and grow into the independent individual that you need the child to grow into, that it has to be addressed, or it is going to cause more problems. And so the third reason Great Mother gives us is that these grievances that we have are more than just our mother, this ego form of this woman. This is a soul relationship that we have to resolve within ourselves. Because once that happens, it happens with her on a soul level. Now, whether or not the ego form of the mother resolves it with us is a whole different issue. But that is something that will happen in time. That's Great Father energy. The space is what we're working with, our internal space. And when it's resolved within us, through doing our goddess, practicing our loving detachment, it eventually happens. And it happened for me recently, actually, in a huge way. It happens in phases like the moon. And so we'll go through phases of healing. And I had a full moon phase recently with a dream with my mother. And maybe one day I'll share it, but it was extremely powerful, connecting with her on a soul level. So these things that I'm sharing are things that have come through specifically for us as empaths. I'm an empath sharing this way. I'm not a psychic medium in the sense of speaking to, quote unquote, the dead in the way that I share messages in that kind of classical way. But I am an empath that is an intuitive psychic empath that connects with the collective in this particular population of people, empaths with the mother wound, and our souls, and our mother's souls. The fourth reason Great Mother gave us to connect with our inner goddess, our divinity, to do our goddess, is that everyone feels guilted for fulfilling wants and needs. Everyone has some guilt about fulfilling wants and needs every now and then, if not often. But empaths with the mother wound, like highly sensitive people, have difficulty forming a healthy relationship with the boundaries. But unlike highly sensitive people, empaths who do not form boundaries will not process intuitive downloads, and their energy is blocked. Reason number 4 is saying that we may not know what our wants and what our needs are if we don't have boundaries. If we don't have clear boundaries around what our needs are, it's usually because we don't know what they are, or we haven't asserted them. And even though all highly sensitive people really have to work on this, because our needs are different, the extra time that we need, time and space away from overstimulating sounds and smells and tastes and things like that. For empaths, people who feel the feelings of others and can feel the feelings of other highly sensitive people, when we don't have boundaries around our needs, this blocks our energy, period. And it blocks it from within ourselves to do what we need to do for ourselves. So we really have to work on this. Doing our goddess requires that we have boundaries. You think of a goddess is very clear about what her needs are, what her wants are, whether somebody approves of them or not. And that's how we need to be. We need to be that way. And boundaries change, they evolve, just like our needs and our wants evolve. And so we have to communicate that in order for our intuitive downloads to be accurate. We have to work with the energy and with integrity. And in order for the information we receive to be perceived correctly, and not just running off and always kind of halfway getting, and then at a certain point we don't trust it anymore. We really want to work on that. That's reason number 4. Reason number 5 to do our God is everyone can get dysregulated, but empaths can feel higher frequencies, animals, plants, angels, ancestors, and must own and employ this connection to successfully live in loving detachment from MDT. So everybody from time to time feels emotionally dysregulated, but empaths who feel a higher frequency of energy, like those of plants and animals and things like that, we have to own our dysregulation. We can't just say, well, sometimes I feel like that, and maybe, just like I was saying, to someone recently, I used to look at a healthy empath, someone who has these abilities without the restrictions or the dysregulation, and are very empowered leaders of organizations and things, and say, I could do that, I could do that. And we can. But we're not managing our energy to do it that way. We're managing it to sustain mama drama trauma, because that's all we know. That's the role modeling and the conditioning that we've had. And so that's why this inner work is so important, and why there's so many points to it. And this being the 5th point of this dysregulation, when I began to own the fact that I am dysregulated a lot, like more than half the time. And things get me in a tizzy to where I got down to this body-mind awareness, staying in the divinity identity so much with my birthright to being happy, healthy, and whole. I was realizing I am not happy a lot. I am always really panicking. Basically, there's an undercurrent of panic going on all the time. And when I realized that, I was like, I have a lot of fears that I really need to process. And it went from year to focusing and journaling and mood tracking, various things for me to get a handle on those paranoias, those fears, those panicking devices that I had set up to isolate myself, and then jump to the other continuum of co-regulating when I felt inspired to be with people. And just, it was not productive for me at all. And so we have to own that dysregulation and do our goddess in a way that is self-compassionate, not self-condemning or judgmental, because Great Mother, Father, God are not judging or condemning us. And so as children of the Great Mother, Father, God, we model ourselves after them. They don't judge and condemn us, so we don't judge and condemn ourselves. And do that in a self-compassionate way. I was able to, and still to this day, when I'm working through something, remind myself, when I calm down and breathe, and I look at something, and I do a reading about something that gives me the confirmation, the affirmation, the clarity and balance that I need, I can walk away from the table with a sense of, okay, this is what I need to pay attention to, and this is what I need to express. This is what I need to be conscious and conscientious of in this situation, in terms of my karma and what I really do need to give to this situation that I'm inspired to be a part of. And it's never as much as I used to think. I don't have to go and get all this stuff and buy food and make sure so-and-so comes and make sure so-and-so happy. A lot of times it's just to show up and stay as long as I want, or as little as I want, or whatever, and balance that with what about being there is making me feel good. And a lot of times the inspiration was just to get out of the house. It's in a nice place, in a nice park. And so the whole time I'm there, I'm mostly walking around, or whatever. So being aware of that is how we do our goddess. it's about healing those things within us. And that's how we take responsibility. It's not a condemnation of you need to take responsibility because you need to self-care and you can't expect people to take care. It's not that. We have a lot of support from our angels, guides, and ancestors, but because we have free will, they can only support us in a way that we are ready, able, and willing to receive it. But we can't be if we're not conscious of it. And so this is what Great Mother's saying. And so finally, because I don't want these videos to be long, but this is my first one. So if you've stayed with us this long, thank you so much, because this is going to help us clarify our notes in our classes. This is the 6th reason. Great Mother says for us to do our goddess. Everyone is wounded or injured in some way by life experiences, but individuals with MDT carry soul wounds they must address to feel divine, and to do so they must tap into their goddess for the nitty-gritty of what makes them tick so they can effectively use their healing shield and armor. Everyone is wounded or injured in some way by life, but with MDT, the soul wounds that we carry from many, many lifetimes are at a point where they must be addressed in this lifetime. That's all. We carry the karma where we have to address it this lifetime or be miserable. Okay? And in order for us to do that, we have to tap into our goddess, our divine nature, to get to the nitty-gritty of our unique soul expression in order to express the expression that is within us. And when we do that, our shield and armor just pops up wherever we go, wherever we show up, it's there. Because it's designed to protect that. It's designed to protect our goddess. It's designed to be present for the goddess. And it's designed to provide for the goddess. So I hope that has been useful to understanding the session, how you do your goddess. Now, remember that when you subscribe, you are getting these podcasts to support your daily practice of living in loving detachment, as well as how tips and tools and techniques to use the Mama Drama Trauma Healing Oracle deck in order to do that. So with all of these tools, tips, and techniques, you should have a great foundation to draw from. But above all, and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too. God is love. God is love. God is love. God is love. How you do your goddess is how you live. God is for me. God is how you do your goddess is how you love. God is for you. How you do your goddess is how you live. How you do your goddess is how you love. As always, above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.